probably visit a time or two.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We've got a packed house, Sioux Falls, and I'm really, really pleased to see this. Today is Monday, April 16th, and we'll start the meeting as we always do to identify the City Council that is representing all of you. We'll start with a roll call.
Council members Erpenbach? Here. Jamison?
Here.
Karski?
Here.
Rolfing?
Here.
Aguilar? Here. Anderson?
Here.
Brown?
Here.
Entenmann?
Here. Sioux Falls, as is most of the case, we have all 8 of your councilors here, and just shows the work that they put into this job. We'll start with our invocation. We've got Pastor Wade Mobley. He's with Living Word Free Lutheran Church Street on 85th Street here in Sioux Falls. And Pastor Wade is going to lead us with prayer. And then, after he's done, if you would remain standing for a Pledge of Allegiance, we'd certainly appreciate it. Pastor Wade.
Thank you for making this a part of your meeting. I'd like to read a couple verses from 1 Timothy 2, why we would do such a thing. 68 AD, about 30 years after the time of Christ, the Apostle Paul wrote to a young pastor named Timothy, and he wrote this about their relation to their government. First of all, then, I urge that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for all people, for kings and all who are in high positions, that we may lead a peaceful and quiet life, godly and dignified in every way. This is good, and it is pleasing in the sight of God our Savior, who desires all people to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. For there is one God, and one mediator between God and man, the man Jesus Christ, who gave himself as a ransom for all, which is the testimony given at the proper time. Oh, Father God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this council and their hard work and the appointed service of our city. I ask for wisdom tonight, Lord. I ask that opportunity would be taken to show deference to one another. I ask for wisdom in decisions that are made for the benefit of the city. And I ask, Father God, above all else, that that which is said and done and thought would be, in fact, pleasing in your sight. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome. It's great to have you all here. I do have a number of proclamations tonight, and I think you're going to enjoy every single one of them. I know I am. And we're going to start with, if I could bring Jacob Herman up, please. Jacob? Hello, man. Jacob, I'm going to read a proclamation in your honor, okay? Let's get you on TV. So look this way. Here we go. Whereas, volunteers in Sioux Falls are essential to the city's future as a caring and productive city. Whereas, National Volunteer Week will be observed across the nation and in Sioux Falls during the week of April 15th through April 21st, 2012. Whereas, the annual observance of National Volunteer Week offers a chance to thank the many volunteers throughout Sioux Falls whose work and compassion add so much to the quality of our city. Whereas, one of the volunteers the city wants to recognize and thank is Jacob Herman. Whereas, Jacob Herman resides in Sioux Falls and attends Washington High School. Whereas, Jacob is an outstanding volunteer, donating many hours of his time, energy, and talent to the city of Sioux Falls. Whereas, Jacob has assisted a number of city departments and offices, especially Human Resources, planning and building services, community development, public works, finance, real estate, human relations, and the city attorney's office. Whereas Jacob continually demonstrates an enthusiasm for his volunteer service. Whereas Jacob's dedication to his work with the city is appreciated by all those he has helped. Whereas Jacob Herman's volunteer service to the city has enriched the lives of all those whom he has worked. And that includes me too, Jacob. Now, therefore, I'm Mike Huther. I am the mayor of the city of Sioux Falls, and I recognize the contribution Jacob Herman has made to the city. And I do hereby proclaim April 17th, 2012 as Jacob Herman Day in Sioux Falls, and encourage all citizens to express appreciation to this young man, Jacob Herman, and other volunteers in Sioux Falls for their commitment to service. Jacob, congratulations.
Yeah.
Now, Sarah Carruthers. Sarah, could you come forward? There she is. Team, come on up. Welcome. Sarah, would you mind introducing the folks with you tonight?
Sure. I'm Sarah Carruthers. I work at the Helpline Center, and today I have with me Becky Sleater from South Dakota Achieve, and she is the current president of DOVIA, Directors of Volunteers and Agencies. And I have Nona Bixler from Sanford, and she's their Director of Volunteer Services there.
Welcome. Whereas every community member can affect positive change with any volunteer action, no matter how big or small. And in Sioux Falls, 70,000 people volunteer annually. Whereas volunteers can connect with local community service opportunities through hundreds of community service organizations like volunteer centers. Whereas millions of volunteers working in their communities utilize their time and their talent daily to make a real difference in the lives of children, adults, and the elderly. Whereas during this week, all over our great nation, service projects will be performed and volunteers recognized for their commitment to service. Whereas the giving of oneself to service and to one another empowers the giver and the recipient. Whereas experience teaches us that government itself cannot solve all of our nation's social problems. Whereas our country's volunteer force, which is over 62.8 million people, is a great treasure. Whereas volunteers are vital to our future as a caring and productive nation. Now, therefore, I'm Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim April 15th through April 21st as National Volunteer Week in Sioux Falls, and I urge all citizens to volunteer and support celebrating people in action in our community. Sarah, congratulations. Lori Hogston. Lori, welcome. And Tamara, please come forward. Well, to the people of Sioux Falls, I don't know if you know, but this is Lori Hogsted, and Lori, we are so blessed to have as our city clerk here for the city council as well as for our whole town, and so this is a face you're going to get to know. And would you mind introducing Tamara, please?
Tamara Jorgensen, and Tamara is one of the assistant city clerks. And then also we have Denise Tucker, one of the assistant city clerks. Denise could not be with us tonight, but we wanted to have Tamara up here as well. Vital part.
Don't leave. Here we go. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. Whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, province, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas, it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim April 29th through May 5th as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our municipal clerks. We have Lori Hogstead, who's the city clerk, Tamara Jorgensen, Assistant City Clerk, Denise Tucker, Assistant City Clerk, and to all municipal clerks for their vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Congratulations. Nice job. Colette Johnson. Thank you. Welcome, Colette. Oh, okay. Okay. Renee, would you mind introducing Dennis?
Dennis Hoffman is the Major Gifts Officer at Volunteers of America, and he is taking Pam's position tonight because she's in Rapid City for one of our events.
Very good. Well, welcome. Whereas Volunteers of America Dakotas is celebrating 91 years of service this year in the Sioux Falls community. Whereas Volunteers of America started in 1920 providing prison ministries, and in 1923 began providing child care centers to serve families. Whereas Volunteers of America Dakotas is recognized as one of the longest running nonprofit child care agencies in the nation. Whereas the 10th annual Partners Breakfast will be held on May 3rd to thank all of its partners, to share its successes and goals, and to continue fulfilling the human service needs in the Dakotas by helping people help themselves. Whereas in 2011, Volunteers of America Dakotas has 6 service areas: children, youth and families, mental health, employment, training and disabilities, housing and homeless, community enhancement, and substance abuse and prevention. 588 professionally trained full and part-time employees, and over 1,100 volunteers. Whereas in the fiscal year 2011, Volunteers of America Dakota served over 36,000 children, young adults, and families throughout the Dakotas who are striving to fulfill their hopes and dreams for a better and brighter future. Whereas Volunteers of America Dakota's mission as a nonprofit, spiritually based organization is to reach out to empower people of all ages to become healthier, self-sufficient, productive members of their communities. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim May 3rd as Volunteers of America Dakota's Day in Sioux Falls. Congratulations. And Deborah Olson. Welcome, Deborah. Come on up, folks. Deborah, would you mind introducing your team here tonight? Thank you.
I have with me Beth Tellickson and Lovey Bliss, sister members of Seroptimus International.
Thank you. Whereas the Seroptimus International of the Americas, founded in 1921, and the Seroptimus International of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, organized in 1940, are international organizations for business and professional women working through service projects to advance human rights and the status of women. Whereas there are almost 95,000 Seroptimists in about 120 countries and territories around the world. Whereas members of Seroptimus clubs are committed to improving the lives of women and girls, to promoting international goodwill and understanding, to volunteer action, to leadership development, and to creating fellowship through diversity. Whereas the name Seroptimus means best for women and encourages all women to live their dreams while helping other women be their best and live their dreams. Projects are carefully chosen to address challenges unique to today's women. Whereas Seroptimus' major service project, the Women's Opportunity Awards Program, provides cash grants for head of household women seeking to improve their economic status by gaining additional skills, training, and education. Whereas Violet Richardson Awards are given to honor young women who make the community and world a better place through their volunteer efforts. Whereas the Soroptimist Live Your Dream campaign inspires women and girls from all walks of life to live their dreams and encourages them to pass on their good fortune to others. Whereas the Soroptimist International of Sioux Falls, South Dakota is hosting the 97th North Central Region Spring Convention, an annual gathering of the members of 15 clubs in 5 states on May 4th through the 6th. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim Friday, May 4th as Soroptimist Day in Sioux Falls. Deborah, thank you. Well, thank you so much for your attention and again for being here tonight. We will now continue on with the City Council meeting with the approval of tonight's consent agenda.
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, and it was seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. Councilor Endeman is going to leave the chambers for a brief period of time. And is there any discussion on tonight's consent agenda? Hearing none, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Now moving on to tonight's regular agenda.
Move to approve, Anderson.
Second, Erpenbach.
There has been a motion to approve by Councilor Anderson Jr., seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Is there any discussion on tonight's regular agenda?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Erpenbach.
I'd like to amend the main motion, Mr. Mayor, to hear items 29 and 30 after item 33.
Very good, very good. So there has been a amendment to tonight's regular agenda. Is there a second?
Second, Karski.
Seconded by Councilor Dean Karski. Is there any discussion on that? Very good. All those in favor, let's get a roll call vote, please. Sorry.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Now, we do have the opportunity for public input.
No, sir, we
Oh,
need-
I'm so sorry.
Vote to
Tamara?
approve as amended, the regular agenda.
Oh,
Vote.
thank you. Thanks, Tamara. That's why we have city clerks. Very good. We do have an amendment to the motion, and so now let's vote on the amended main motion. Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Thank you. That has passed 8-0. Thank you, Tamara. Folks, this is an opportunity for you to engage the city council. If you're here to speak on an item that is on the agenda later on, we'd ask you to wait until that time. However, if you've got another topic that you want to discuss with your council, just come on up, please. We'd ask you to limit the comments to 5 minutes or less and just introduce yourself to the people of our town. Is there anyone who wanted to speak to the council? Well, very good. Then let's move on with tonight's regular agenda with item 26.
Item 26 is a new 2012 package liquor license for Ovations Food Services LP Sioux Falls Convention Center to be operated at 1211 Northwest Avenue. 27 is a new 2012-13 retail malt beverage license for Tazito World Burrito LLC, Tazito Burrito, to be operated at 1504 West Russell Street, No. 1, effective July 1st, 2012, with the conditional use permit 2003-1015 being approved in 2003. Item 28 is a transfer of the 2012 retail liquor license from Gold Rush Casino Incorporated, Gold Rush Casino, 2701 West 41st Street, Suite B, to CPAG LLC, The Rush, to be operated at 2701 West 41st Street, Suite B, including Sunday sales and video lottery terminals. Item 31 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine license for the Elride Shriners, Elride Mausk, to be operated at Dakota Avenue from 11th Street South, 1 block up to Lutheran Church Lot Driveway, Main Avenue from 10th to 13th Streets, Phillip Avenue from 9th to 14th Streets, 1st Avenue from 11th to 13th Streets, 10th Street from Main to Mall Avenues, 11th Street from Dakota to Mall Avenues, 12th Street from Main to 1st Avenues, and 13th Street from Dakota to 1st Avenues for Automania on June 29, 2012. Item 32 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine license for the Sertoma Butterfly House in Marine Cove to be operated at the Sertoma Butterfly House in Marine Cove, 4320 South Oxbow Avenue, for a fundraiser on April 19, 2012. Item 33 is a special one-day malt beverage license for Avera McKenna to be operated at the Avera McKenna Fitness Center, 3400 South Southeastern Avenue for the fun run on April 20th, 2012. And we'll hear 29 and 30 after these items.
Very good. Welcome, Lori.
All right, thank you. Lori Hogstead is the city clerk, former licensing specialist, and I would like to, those of you already know her, but to the public as well, to introduce Jamie Palmer, and Jamie is the new licensing specialist as of today. So we will be working together for quite some time, and pretty soon she'll have her wings and she'll be on her own. But so Jamie is joining me tonight, and we'll take over at this point.
Well, welcome, Jamie. It's good to have you here. Lori, are there any comments on any of the items that you wanted to share with the council?
Just a couple. I just wanted to mention that item 26, there might be a question as to why the convention center is applying for a packaged liquor license. And the primary reason for that is there's many businesses that use their facilities that like to hold silent auctions. And per state law, in order to hold a silent auction and sell alcohol products or have alcohol as part of the auction, they do need to have a packaged liquor license. I know that this happens all over, but those that we hear about, we certainly let them know the process. But the convention center wanted to follow the state law, follow it to the letter, and so they are making application for the packaged liquor. So that one probably needed some explanation. Otherwise, 27 is just a new beer license, and that will be effective July 1st. And that ties into the renewal time period. And then 28 is a transfer in ownership. And then we have some one-days, and I do have representatives here for most of these items if you have questions for them.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Jamie. Council, any questions or comments on these items?
Move to approve.
Councilor Brown has made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Entman.
There's a second by Councilor Anderson, Jr.
I just have one question, and I'm not against it, but item 31.
Okay.
With the special one-day malt beverage and wine license, how will they interact with the other liquor businesses in the downtown area?
All right, that is a good question. When they have a special event such as this, whether it's Automania or any of the other downtown events, the businesses that sell alcohol, and I'll just pick one, Minerva's, for instance, they're authorized to sell the alcohol at their business inside. And if they have a seating area, I guess that has to be worked out with the vendor, but they cannot take that alcohol off-site. They can't go in and buy a cocktail and walk around with it because the event is licensed for the one-day beer and one-day wine, and the license is only issued to, in this case, the Elride Shriners. And so the downtown businesses, certainly they can be open, certainly they can sell inside, but they're not allowed to let any patrons leave with the alcohol for these particular events.
I guess the question then again, these businesses can sell alcohol year-round, but just not on these special days.
No, they can sell. They just can't take it. They just can't sell someone a drink and they walk down the street with it. Just because it's a big open event and the streets are closed and people are milling about, that doesn't mean that you can go into, say, Minerva's and buy a cocktail and walk down the street with it. You still can go into Minerva's and purchase alcohol, absolutely, but you cannot take it off the premises because they're legally licensed for their premises only.
Right, but the premises includes what's in front of their business.
Right, and that we would have to ask. Bill Nelson is here representing Automania, what they've worked out with the businesses. Sometimes they work out a situation where they allow them to serve right outside their businesses. It kind of depends on the event. And I know Bill is here tonight and could certainly answer questions on that.
Councilor Anderson, Jr., would you like Bill to come forward?
I would, please.
Bill, would you mind coming forward, please? Bill, welcome. Would you just introduce yourself to the people of Sioux Falls, please?
Bill Nelson with Autobuy Magazine and Automania, downtown Sioux Falls.
Welcome, Bill. Councilor Anderson Jr.
Yes.
Hi, Bill.
Typically, what we do is the brick and mortar stores downstairs, such as Minerva's or the Paramount or whatever, they sell beer and wine that evening through the Elride Shrine, but everything's billed through the Elride Shrine. That's the only thing they can have up and down on the streets themselves. The alcohol, the hard alcohol, does not go outside of if they're licensed to have some sidewalk in front of them, where the seating normally would be in a patio area, if they have that type of permit, they can do it on that patio area only, but they cannot walk up and down the streets. So it's just the beer or the wine or whatever's licensed for that particular event.
Okay, but they can sell in their particular,
Right,
in
yes.
front of their area.
Yes.
That's what I was
Yep.
concerned about. Okay, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yes, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Good job, Bill. Council, any other questions or comments? Well, there has been a motion to approve this item. It was seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item number 29 and 30.
Item 29 is a special one-day liquor license for Sanford Health Foundation to be operated at the Sanford Center, 2301 East 60th Street North, for the 2012 Sanford Children's Gala on August 4th, 2012. Item 30 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the Sioux Falls Area Community Foundation to be operated at the Sanford Center, 2301 East 60th Street North, for a fundraiser on May 3rd, 2012.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Enneman.
I need to excuse myself for the vote.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions or comments, or Lori, any comments on these?
Nope, these are just, they've been utilizing the Sanford Center more and more for events, and one happens to be for the Sanford Foundation for their Children's Gala. I think this is many years running, and then the Sioux Falls Area Community Foundation is going to be using their property.
Thank you.
So,
Move
Counsel.
approval, Erpenbach.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Erpenbach's made a motion to approve items 29 and 30, seconded by Councilor Karski. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That has passed 7-0. Thank you. Item 34.
Item 34 is deferred from the City Council meeting of Monday, April 2nd, 2012. Second reading.
Ms.
And-
Cooper.
and
Good
or-
evening, I'm
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I need to
Go
read
ahead
it
there,
first. Thank
Tamara.
you. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at the northeast corner of South Minnesota Avenue and West 85th Street from the C4 Planned Commercial District, O Office District, RA1, RD, and RS2 Residential Districts, and the RC Recreation Conservation District to the C4 Planned Commercial District, O Office District, RA1, and RD Residential Districts, and the RC Recreation Conservation District, petition number 2012-0212, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Michael.
Good evening. I'm Mike Cooper, representing Planning and Building Services. This is a petition that was submitted for rezoning by Clint Ackerman, working along with Lloyd Companies. This property is located in the northeast corner of South Minnesota Avenue and 85th Street. The area consists of about 52 acres that's being considered for rezoning. Back in 2007, there was a zoning approval by the City Council for this property, which included a mix of commercial, office, multifamily, medium density, and low density residential. When we considered this on April 2nd, we had a side-by-side comparison that showed what the current zoning is and what the City Planning Commission had recommended for approval based on Mr. Ackerman's petition. The primary discussion, as you recall, was the transition of land uses to the Grand Prairie subdivision, which is directly to the north, which is a single-family development area. Mr. Ackerman had proposed with his new zoning plan that along the north property line, adjacent to the south property line of Grand Prairie, would be a row of twin homes, and then south of that would be fourplexes, and then multifamily. We heard from Grand Prairie neighbors that they were concerned about that transition, that they would rather see twin homes. So the City Council made a motion to defer this for 2 weeks with the idea that the two sides could get together and try to work out their differences. So subsequent to April 2nd, staff was involved with 2 different meetings involving representatives of both Mr. Ackerman and Lloyd Companies as well as the Grand Prairie Development. There was give and take by both sides on certain aspects, but I'm here tonight to say that there's not complete agreement yet on the entire zoning package. So what Mr. Ackerman has agreed to propose tonight is essentially very similar to what he had shown us the last time. The neighbors, along with Mr. Ackerman, have agreed to the RC zoning boundary, which is on the upper right-hand corner. We had discussed that at length last time. There's also agreement on the boundaries of the office zoning in the northwest corner. Mr. Ackerman is still requesting RS2 zoning adjacent to Grand Prairie, along with RD zoning to the south of that. What Mr. Ackerman has proposed to the Grand Prairie development is that in the RS2, he would be willing to limit that to single family, of 1 row of single family, with the idea that the RD could go forward with a conditional use permit request for 4plexes. The other option that Mr. Ackerman proposed to the neighborhood would be that the RS2 would be twin homes and the RD would be a row of 3plexes. So the 2 options, again, that Mr. Ackerman proposed was either single family and 4plex or twin home and 3plex. The Grand Prairie neighborhood has also submitted an exhibit that shows their preference to have 2 rows or 2 lot depths of RS2, which would allow either single family or twin homes, but nothing greater density than 2 rows of twin homes. So that transition, we were not able to get the 2 sides to completely agree to, but the other boundaries of the office, the RC, both sides did express some give and take on that. So that's kind of where we're at tonight. It's back in the City Council's decision-making mode tonight, and I know that we have representatives of both parties here if you have questions for them.
Mr. Cooper, thank you. And folks, this is a second reading, so you do have an opportunity to engage your counsel. I just wanted to kind of take us back to the last meeting, and very, very good dialogue on both sides. And it was professional, but I think more importantly, it was productive. And I know that there are folks who want to speak again, and I know that your counsel certainly wants to hear you. What I'd like you to do is come up, introduce yourself to the people of Sioux Falls as well as the council. But I am going to ask you to consider something. I know that this council, they've paid a lot of attention to this. They listened to you intently, both sides, and they'll do it again tonight. But if you have new information you'd like to share, I think that'll be even more relevant to tonight's discussion. New dialogue would certainly prove beneficial to all of the parties involved. And again, your council will attempt to make a good decision tonight, and they'll do it based on not only what they've heard tonight, but also what they've heard in the past. So again, welcome, and just come on forward, and we'd ask you to limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. Again, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Clint Ackerman with Signature Companies, Harrisburg, South Dakota. First of all, I just wanted to, kind of highlight on the meetings a little bit. And we had 2 respectful meetings, and just to continue off of what Mike said, the first meeting I proposed, the first proposal that Mike had stated, which was a row of villas, single family on the RS2 that borders Grand Prairie, and then moving into the 4plexes, which is the RD just south of the RS2. Although we made some good progress, the Grand Prairie residents, representatives had to go back and have their meeting with their residents and see where they were at. When we got to the second meeting, I knew that they would be happy with 2 rows of twin homes, and and I was just trying to find a common ground. So what I came up with was reducing my 4-unit buildings down to 3-unit buildings on the RD on the south side of the RS2, and then putting twin homes on the RS2. And although I felt it was a good compromise, we just couldn't come to a full agreement between both parties. The proposed zoning that we currently have here right now, as Mike said, we did increase the office space, and we re-entered or re-added back to the zoning a little piece of RC up in the northeast corner to give some additional buffering. And I guess what I just want to state is, we are requesting the RS2 on the northern property. And RS2, right now, what we're asking for is single-family homes. I know there's an intended use, and that comes at a later date. But right now, I guess I'm asking for RS2 there, and as well as RD along the southern border of the RS2. And the 3-plexes that Mike was talking about, and which would be a part of our second proposal that we came back with at the second meeting, would just be the row just south of the RS2. Correct. And then the remainder of that RD, I'd be looking at doing 4-plexes in that area. As the planning department has indicated in our first meeting, we are following the normal transitions that are required from one development to another or within developments. And I guess I'd just like to reiterate the fact that the RS2 right now, all I'm asking for is for single family use. And I understand that, if I go to a conditional use permit in the planning commission, if I don't get that, then I'm willing to succumb to the RS2 zoning, as well as the RD only allows for twin home use right now. So, and I guess the only thing I'd like to add is that, I feel that this is going to be a great addition to the neighborhood, and I feel that it's going to be a good neighborhood, and then it'll be a quality controlled development. Any questions?
Clint, thank you. What we'll do is we'll go to the other parties, but don't leave too far, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Folks, anybody else want to speak to the council on this item? Welcome. Thank you.
Dan Lemmy, Grand Prairie developer. What we had proposed with Clint, I won't go over everything, but we're agreeing to all, I think there's 7 different zoning changes with the commercial and especially the apartments. We've agreed to all that. So what we've come back with is just limiting the RS2 to actually just RS2, which could be used as 2 rows of twin homes. So Grand Prairie has been over backwards. We really have. I mean, we're not arguing any other point, one point. And that's and we've also agreed that the RS2, that we will not oppose Clint's application for twin homes when it goes to conditional use. So we felt that we have given a tremendous amount, considering that this zoning was in place since 2005. Many of these people that are here tonight, and there's not very many here tonight because we've done our compromise and we don't want to come up here and rehash this all over. So the Grand Prairie neighborhood has asked us just to represent you or represent us. So anyway, the zoning was in place when these people bought or the majority of these people when they bought their homes, the zoning was in place. They did their due diligence. They checked to see what the zoning was south of Grand Prairie. Now, one of those people that I talked to didn't ask me when they bought their lot or their home what that zoning was in place. It wasn't a cornfield. That had been changed. The zoning had been changed from agricultural to the current zoning that we have right now. We're giving up a reduction of our RS2, simply asking for 2 rows of twin homes. Everything else we agree upon. So.
Mr. Lemmy, thank you very much.
Any questions? Or?
We'll come back to you too, Mr. Lemmy. Thank you so much. And I know the council appreciates you speaking on behalf of the neighborhood. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you, Mr. Member. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Joel Dykstra. It's my pleasure to stand here before you tonight for the first time as a Sioux Falls resident. I also stand as a resident of the Grand Prairie and a representative of the other half of the ownership group, the developer. I just really have 4 quick points for you. In history, we've come at this from the standpoint that the original zoning that is in place here, then in that case, the Council, the Planning and Zoning Commission did the right thing. So 5 years ago, when this land was turned from a cornfield into a residential zoning, we believe that that council made the right decision, and that numerous people have come during those 5 years, made investments in this property, relying on that zoning and relying on the protection of this process. Changing it should be and should require a very high standard. Secondly, I want to echo what Mr. Cooper said. We did have 2 meetings during the last couple of weeks that have been very cordial, very professional, very serious. And as a result of those meetings and as a result of all the other conversations that have taken place, the Grand Prairie Homeowners Association and other residents have compromised on at least 7 points on that plan that you see in front of you. I believe that list, I think you have that list in the materials that you have, and I notice that Mr. Ackerman has accepted all of the concessions we made, and the only thing really we have to talk about here is the one thing that we don't have agreement on. And in the short version, the question here is the Homeowners Association is looking for 2 rows of twin home transition, and Mr. Ackerman is offering us 1. And so really in the end, we have agreed on every point except that question. Are we to have 2 rows between the new higher density development that is envisioned for this property, or are we going to have just the 1 row before we move into very large buildings of 4plexes and so forth? So with that, I'd stand down and stand available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Please come forward. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Aaron Mintley. I'm a Grand Prairie resident. I'm going to make this really quick. First of all, I'm sorry we've taken so much of your time on a single issue. But we have all made investments in this neighborhood, in this entire area. And with us, we're locked into what we've done. With the new development, they're at the front end of this. They can modify the plan to make it work. With us, our streets are paved, our covenants are set, our lots are purchased, our houses are built. We can't change that. This is a change after we've made our investment. These are big investments for us. We all did our homework leading into it. We feel like a change like this is just too much. We've given into very profound changes. We're really at one thing that we're asking for. We think it's a small ask. That's all I have.
Aaron, thank you. And again, folks, don't take my comments as the council doesn't want to hear from you. They definitely do. I just want to do again, and we're seeing it here tonight, good, professional, different comments, and they're certainly well respected, and we appreciate them. So please, if there's anybody else who wants to speak, just come on forward and just introduce yourself to the people of Sioux Falls. Well, very good. Thank you. Council, did anybody have any questions of anybody in the neighborhood or Mr. Ackerman, or would anybody like to make a motion? Yes. Councilor Rolfe?
Clint, could you come up? Do you have any drawings or anything on what the 3plex would look like compared to a duplex?
I did not prepare any 3plex drawings for the project.
Can you give me an idea?
They're very similar to the 4plex, just taking off one of the units. You don't have anything from before?
Clint, maybe to simplify for Councilor Rolfing, is the height the same? Is
Yes.
the width the same?
The height is the same. We're just going to reduce the length by about 40 feet. Each unit is about 40 foot. And I do have a picture of the existing 4plex. I guess we can just fold the paper and kind of give you an image.
Okay. So we're talking about, instead of a building 80-foot wide or 120-foot wide, we're talking about a building that's 80 foot. Is that what you're saying?
I think it's maybe 150 down to 110 or 15, somewhere
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Somewhere in there?
Yep.
And
Basically, I can give you this if you want to look at it
you
again.
could put it, maybe Mike could put it up on the screen there, Mike, if you would, please. So we're looking at either duplexes or single-family homes, or you're talking about a duplex on one side and then threeplex on the other side?
Yeah, correct. So basically what you could do is take out a garage in the front area of one window with one of the little dormers and just squeeze it all together, kind of give you an image of it.
You take out part of one of the middle ones there?
Yeah, correct.
Make it look right.
Councilor Brown.
Mr. Ackerman, help me understand on the offer on the table that the neighborhood put forward. Tell me why you think the 2 rows of twin homes would not work under this plan.
I'm trying to create a townhouse community that has, several different unit mixes in there so I can appeal to more than just one aspect of the market. And the threeplex just has a scale of efficiency that helps us achieve some of those things.
Okay. And then of the 2 offers you have on the table, did I understand you correctly that your preference is the single and then into the single-family homes and then into the fourplexes?
My preference is the 2 of the twin homes, then threeplexes.
Okay. And then if I may, Mr. Mayor,
Councilor
Mr.
Brown.
Mentley, I have a couple similar questions.
Aaron, would you come forward? Thank you.
Aaron, you guys have done a nice job of explaining your opposition to the higher properties coming in. Explain to me of the offers on the table from Mr. Ackerman, and I don't know if you're speaking for the entire neighborhood, but the preferences between the single to a fourplex or the twin homes to the threeplex.
Sure. It's hard for us to look at this outside of zoning because regardless of what the plan is, we don't really know what's going to end up there. So as we look at it, we're trying to think of property types that can go on RD, property types that can go on RS2. That's how we see it. So as far as these proposals coming in, whether it's 9 fourplexes or 12 threeplexes, all you have to do is stand back a few feet and it all looks the same. So honestly, the use is not an issue to us. We've heard all the different types of uses. There've been a lot of them. We've never really taken, we don't think that's our business. We're looking at it from zoning. I think zoning kind of takes care of all of those cases for us. We know the types of properties that can go on RS2, for instance. We've come back and said that we won't challenge anything if it goes for a conditional use. We're not trying to stop that. We just think that the zoning does a good job of setting up the property types that could or should be near us.
As I remember from last time on April 2nd, the neighborhood was more interested in single-family housing there. Has that changed?
Well, we had kind of a long history of thinking there would be single-family homes there. I know the developer has some reasons, from a marketing perspective, why single families would be nice. The development, talking as a homeowner and neighbors all have consensus on this. We've seen the drawings. We think the drawings of the twin homes look just fine. What we're looking at is a density and not getting down into the details of the product of each property type. So last week, if we had said twin homes, I think all of my neighbors would have said, great, that's all we've really asked for since the beginning. This hasn't changed since the beginning. We would have been fine with twin homes. Dan mentioned single-family homes. If you asked him today, I think he'd say twin homes are just fine too.
Councilor Rolfing.
maybe Mike can help us with this too, and we might need you back, Aaron. Mike, RD, what, I think what I'm hearing is that what we do today and what ends up there might be different. And the RD can allow for what?
Okay, the RD zoning allows single-family or twin homes as a permitted use without any public hearing. They just come in for a building permit. Anything above a twin home in RD would require a conditional use permit, public hearing by planning commission, which can be appealed to the city council. So that's
in
when
other
you look
words,
at
if-
the specific
Right.
building layout, lot size. We can look at landscaping.
So they would, if we went with this drawing that's up there right now, and they went bigger than than a duplex, they're going to have to come back here for a conditional use permit.
That's right, in the RD, and then the RS2 would have to also go through a conditional use for a twin home.
Right. So if we do what we're doing, if we allow this to go through zoning the way it is right now, they're gonna have to come back conditional use permit and make sure that we either do a threeplex on the south side of that in the RD, and that's all that can go if we do the conditional use permit, right?
The RD, you can go up to fourplexes with conditional
But we
use.
could do the conditional use permit that says only a threeplex on that part of it, couldn't we?
If it's appealed to you, yes. The planning commission is the one that starts out with the conditional use permit.
But then these people could
Yes.
come back to us and say, this is what we had talked about,
Right.
this is what we agreed on.
And obviously, us as staff would be able to provide some guidance to the planning commission as well on that.
Councilor Jameson.
I was wondering if the developer has a sample of the single-family home type size that would be could be built on that price point. Anything to help us size that up?
I do not have a rendering of the single-family home. Basically, you can take the twin home. They're essentially all the same units. We just take the end unit off of it and split it onto each individual lot. So that unit would bear a 40 wide foot unit, and it would sit on about a 50-foot lot.
You're saying it'd be real similar to one of your twin homes? You just
Yeah.
cut in half.
Is that one not showing up there? Or? I don't have a picture of the twin home with me. Oh, he does. So basically, one of those units cut in half, correct? Yep.
Two-story, story and a half?
Some will be a story and a half, and some will be just one story.
Okay, and Mike, Cooper, could you enlarge that map that's to the right? It's my right, yeah, that one. Can you enlarge that at all? And Clint, could you point out just how those homes would be laid out on that? Single-family homes would be laid out?
Do you have the other zoning? Would that work better? The single-family homes would be facing to the south. The street that runs along the south edge of that yellow property would be 81st Street, and the villas or the single-family homes would then face 81st Street. And there would be probably approximately 24 to 26 units total along that. It's a little over a quarter-mile stretch.
And you would be controlling the construction of those?
Correct, yes. We'll be doing the entire project.
Okay, and then, so landscaping between each of these homes would be handled by you as well?
Yes, that's correct. All the homes will be fully finished on the outside. They'll be landscaped, they'll have sod, sprinkler, and then the entire project will be controlled or maintained by an association, and which will be in charge of the association.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, Council, there looks like there are no further questions. Would anybody be interested in making a motion, or are there further questions? Councilor Mbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mike, Mr. Cooper, could you help me for a minute? What's on the screen now is what is worded in our agenda now. Is that correct?
Yes, it's by exhibit. So this is revised from April 2nd. And again, it's based on the two neighborhood meetings, or the two meetings that we had, where we changed the RC up on the upper left-hand side. We changed the office on the upper left-hand side. And that was based on a portion of those 7 agreements that you heard testimony on tonight.
And then the neighborhoods, if I might, the neighborhoods request would move that yellow area down to where the sort of orange, the RD,
Straight
yeah, right where
across,
Steve
yes.
is doing. Okay.
So there would be
But
a
that-
street and then 2 rows of lots there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lemmy, did you want Mr. Lemmy to? No, that's okay.
No, I'm fine.
Very good.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank
I'd
you.
move approval. Erpenbach.
There's been a motion to approve by Councilor Erpenbach.
Second, Karski.
There's a second by Councilor Karski. Council, any further comments or questions? Councilor Jameson?
I'll make the comment. I think the single-family approach is from what I've gathered from the time that I've spent looking out there, I think that single-family home, if built as so described, will create a nice buffer for the families in the Grand Prairie area, because they won't see past them. Now, I don't know how we can control some of the landscaping so that there's plenty of trees and screening effect. I think that's ultimately part of the goal. Certainly, I know your density issue is heard, but I think the single-family approach is the way to do this myself. With the single-family going to the fourplex, going to the multifamily. These are tough transitions. Puts us in pretty tough spots to make these decisions for your lives and for how you live. We don't take them lightly, but I think this is a reasonable transition. I think it's going to be okay. You may not like it in the beginning, but I think it is the right transition, and I'll support that.
Oh, Councilor Brown.
Question for Director Cooper. So as the motion stands now, we don't need any sort of amendments. It'll all go back to, because it'll have to go back to the Planning Commission for the conditional use permit.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And the message that we'll take back to the Planning Commission is that with the approval of this zoning plan tonight, the council was supporting single-family in the RS2.
And we don't need an amendment because we had the second reading, which
Right.
was different than this, but we're okay with what was just motioned.
Because we're doing it by exhibit.
Okay.
Yep.
Councilor Brown, that's a good question. Thank you. Councilor Karski.
Mike, don't sit down. Sorry.
Cooper.
When does the Planning Commission get to see this as far as the conditional use permits?
Probably May 2nd
Okay, thank you.
would be my expectation.
Well, very good. Thank you very much. If we could have a roll call vote, please, on the motion.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. 35.
Item 35 is the second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by implementing a lodging establishment tax within the Main Street Business Improvement District.
Is Brent O'Neill here? Brent?
Hey, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Brent O'Neill with the City's Community Development Department. On this item, as you recall, it's been before the Council a couple times. This is creating a lodging tax to be used in the Main Street Business Improvement District. It really affects our downtown area. This tax is really viewed as an enhancement and economic development tool for that downtown area, and we can use the funds generated by this tax for a variety of purposes. Obviously, we want those uses to be beneficial to both the city, downtown, and hotel operators. What we're proposing has been set up in such a way that it does allow for the tax in the downtown district, but also requires consent of participating hotels. So tonight's second reading, the ordinance that we're asking you to put into code, really does two things. One, it allows the use of a lodging establishment tax within the downtown district. And second, and more specifically, it implements the tax on a single property. That property is at the River Ramp parking lot site and will be ultimately the Hilton Garden Inn Hotel. This tax proposes a $2 per room per night fee to be charged on transient guests. The cumulative funds collected will go towards some of the extraordinary site development costs at the River Ramp location, and in the long run, surplus funds can go to the general purposes allowed within the bid already, those general activities you see through downtown Sioux Falls. We do have a representative of the hotel here as well. If there's questions on that, and I can answer questions as well.
Brent, thank you. Folks, this is a second reading, so you do have the opportunity to engage the council if you're interested. Would anybody want to talk to the council? Mr. Lloyd, are you coming forward? You are. Very good. Welcome, Craig.
Craig Lloyd with Lloyd Companies and the Greenway Hospitality Group, and our address is 3130 West 57th Street. Got to give Brent a lot of credit. This was his brainstorm or disaster. We don't know which one it is, but Brent thought about this as we worked through our TIF analysis of the new Hilton Garden Inn, and to bridge the gap that we couldn't reach through normal channels of the TIF. And so I really appreciate him and the hard work that organization has really put into this whole River Ramp and the Hilton. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. Lloyd, thank you. Anybody else want to speak to the item? Very good. I defer to the council.
Move for approval, Anderson.
Got a motion to approve by Councilor Anderson Jr.
Second, Brown.
Seconded by Councilor Brown. Is there any discussion? Very good. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 36.
Item 36 is a second reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations for CIP number 148014, right-of-way acquisition for public works.
Chad, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Chad Heavey with the Engineering Division of Public Works. This supplemental appropriation is associated with the Solberg overpass over I-229 that'll bid this spring in southwest Sioux Falls. The project is a joint venture between the Department of Transportation and the City of Sioux Falls. The city's portion of the project is being funded with federal dollars we annually receive through a program called the Surface Transportation Program. Last fall we came to you, we talked about we had acquired 2 of the 3 properties we needed for the right-of-way. This spring we completed the final acquisition for right-of-way for this project, and we acquired that using sales tax. Those sales tax funds that we spent have now been reimbursed by funds from our surface transportation account, which is managed by the Department of Transportation. Tonight's ordinance will supplement engineering's capital project for this right-of-way acquisition. Bids will be opened by the Department of Transportation on April 18th. Construction will begin this year and will be completed next year. Also, item 40 on tonight's agenda is the corresponding resolution amending the capital program associated with this ordinance.
Chad, thank you. Folks, anyone want to speak to this item? Very good. Council? Yes, Councilor Aguilar.
Move approval.
Second, Rolfing.
It's been a motion to approve by Councilor Aguilar, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Is there any discussion on this item? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Thank you. That's passed 8-0. Item 37.
Item 37 is a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at West 77th Street and South Beale Avenue from the AG Agricultural District to the RS2 and RD Residential Districts, petition number 2012-0312, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a petition submitted by Don Runge, proposed developer of this property, which consists of about 18 acres of vacant land. The property would be divided into approximately 11 acres of RS2 residential zoning for either single-family or twin homes, and then 7 acres would be RD zoning, which could also be single-family or twin home. This is located in the southwest area of the city. It's close to one of the Harrisburg elementary schools. It is within our growth area, and we can provide city services to this development. So you'll see the current agricultural zoning on the left side of the exhibit. There's residential to the south and east. And then you can see what the proposed zoning is being requested on the right-hand side. And the Planning Commission has recommended approval of this zoning change.
This is a first reading, council.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, May 1st at 7 p.m. for this item, and it was seconded by Councilor Entenmann. If there's no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Thank you. This passed 8-0. Item 39. Oh, I'm sorry, 38. Thank you.
Item 38 is an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a major amendment, petition number 2012-0318 to Chapter 15.45.70, Planned Development Districts at the southwest corner of East 57th Street and South Sycamore Avenue, amending the village at Sycamore and 57th Planned Development District regulations. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Michael?
This is a petition submitted by Joel Dykstra on behalf of the Robert Broin Living Trust, the current owner of this property. This particular area consists of about 37 acres of land. It was zoned for development by the City Council back in 2008. At that time, with the previous property owner, there was a mixed-use concept that was going to include a combination of commercial, office, and various types of residential development in somewhat of what you might call a village concept with the street configuration. With the current proposal, it's going to be requested to go back to more of a traditional zoning configuration. The current owner and developers believe that this is more suitable to what the market for housing and non-residential will be in this area. So the acreage is about the same as the current zoning in terms of approximately 23 acres is going to be commercial, and about 14 acres would be multifamily and higher density residential. So again, this is really more of changing the boundaries of the zoning to go back to what we would consider more of a traditional layout of commercial, office, and then residential transition.
Very good. Again, another first reading.
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, May 1 at 7 p.m. for this item, and it was seconded by Councilor Entenmann. If there's no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Thank you. This passed 8-0. 39.
Item 39 is a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at northeast corner of the intersection at South Cliff Avenue and East 69th Street from the O Office District to the C4 Planned Commercial District, petition number 2012-0204, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a petition being submitted for 2 zoning changes on this property on behalf of the Walmart Stores Incorporated for a proposed Walmart facility. This is in the northeast corner of 69th and Cliff Avenue. The parcels that are being requested for rezoning consist of 3.8 acres, which are currently zoned for office development. The property in the northwest would be rezoned for access and additional parking. The property on the east side would be rezoned from office to recreation conservation for stormwater detention and drainage area. There's a history to this area that I want to go through, even though I know this is first reading and we do not have public testimony tonight, but I think it's important to kind of set the history of how we've got to this point with the council. In May of 2006, the 2015 growth plan, which is our comprehensive plan, was amended at a public hearing by the Planning Commission and City Council to change the future land uses on this corner from multifamily residential to commercial. So that was done back in 2006. In 2007, there was a rezoning petition submitted for approval, again, for both Planning Commission and City Council consideration. And that was to modify this site to include about 18 acres of zoning changes that results in what we're looking at today. We have the office zoning on either side, and then we have the commercial zoning in the middle, which consists of just over 14 acres of what we call C4 zoning. Then in April of 2010, a conditional use permit was submitted to the city for a Hy-Vee store. And that conditional use permit, again, went through the public hearing process to construct a 103,000 square foot retail store with off-sale alcohol that would be within 500 feet of the existing Sioux Falls Christian School, a gas dispensing station, and car wash. And that went through conditional use permit approval by the Planning Commission with some stipulations. So we did not have any major opposition at the time to either the zoning change or the conditional use permit. And the property has been sitting vacant since that time. As we know, Hy-Vee decided to go to the north and purchase the Sunshine store at 57th and Cliff and convert that to their facility. So now we're looking at a proposal for a Walmart store. And the first step in this process that Walmart has requested, again, is to change the office zoning, as I stated earlier, to the new uses. The proposal that they're submitting is for a 150,000 square foot store, as well as a outlot on the corner of 69th and Cliff Avenue. Just to make sure that everybody understands the process that we're going through, because it's really important to, not only for the council, but also for the public to know this. The zoning change that's being requested does not guarantee approval of any retail use on this property. Any retail use of over 1 acre in size has to go through a conditional use permit. And that's been in our zoning ordinance for many, many years. The purpose of the conditional use requirement is to allow public input, a public hearing, to look at the very detailed components of the development, including landscaping and screening and lighting, drainage, the building materials, the color of the building, the signage. It allows us to go through a very detailed analysis and recommendation for the conditional use permit requirement. So the first step in this process that Walmart has requested is to change those 3.8 acres of land, as I said earlier. The reality is that on the east side, the drainage facility could be built with the current zoning as office. But what Walmart is trying to convey is that they do not want to build an office on that site, and by zoning it to RC, that would eliminate that from ever happening. Up in the northwest corner, they believe that parking lot with additional screening and landscaping, along with the access onto Cliff Avenue, is a buffer that can work. With an office building, you would actually have more potential traffic. We put together a chart that Steve Randall actually came up with of giving you a site comparison which I thought was kind of interesting. If you compare what was approved back in 2010 for the Hy-Vee conditional use based on what is being proposed today, at the top of the table, you can see that in 2010, the Hy-Vee store with a restaurant was going to be 103,000 square feet, with 442 parking spaces being provided, much higher than what our zoning ordinance requires. And with these major commercial retail uses, it's very common, in fact, it's almost done in every case, that they provide more off-street parking than what our ordinance provides for as a minimum. The Hy-Vee conditional use also provided for a convenience store, gas station with car wash of 2,840 square feet, providing 18 parking spaces. And then with the future office zoning that's currently in place, we estimated that you could have about 55,000 square feet of buildable area with about 184 parking spaces. So if you add all of that up, the potential total square feet of building area was 160,840 with a total of 644 parking spaces. Based on what the Walmart proposal that we've been looking at to date is a 150,000 square foot store with 593 off-street parking spaces. The outlot has not been clearly defined as to what the future plans are for that. So we can assume that if it is a C-store or a gas station, you would plug in those same values of building size and parking. If it was going to be a restaurant, like a fast food restaurant, you would look at another 19 parking spaces to meet the requirements. And then by changing the zoning of the 3.8 acres from office to parking and detention, you would eliminate the 55,000 square feet of building area and the 184 parking spaces. So then you end up with potential total of 152,840 square feet of building area with 602 off-street parking spaces. So that gives you a comparison of what could have been built in 2010 based on what potentially could be built with a zoning change and with a conditional use permit today. But again, we will be providing a lot more detail at the conditional use permit process, but we do have some preliminary information from Walmart on their landscaping, their building materials, which if Steve can shine that up there, we are intending to work with them to come up with something that's more than just kind of the old traditional big box look. With more amenities to the building exterior, with building materials such as brick, stone, glass, colors that would fit in with the character of that setting. And they are very open to working with the staff and the neighborhood on these amenities. We also would be working with them on a very detailed landscaping plan that would have screening to the north, landscaping within the parking lot, along 69th Street, along Cliff Avenue, along the east side. Again, we would be able to look at that in much detail, along with the storm drainage requirements. They have done a traffic impact study, which our city engineering staff is looking at, and will be able to provide input to the council at second reading, if you would like, and also as part of the conditional use permit. The traffic ingress and egress that's being showed is very similar to what was proposed with Hy-Vee. It is being based on the traffic impact study, and we do know that if this project does get approved, one of the stipulations would be with the conditional use permit, the type of improvements that would be needed at 69th and Cliff, and when those improvements would be done in conjunction with the completion of the store. Because obviously today, it's not a full built-out intersection. So we have the ability, through the conditional use permit process, to tie in any kind of recommendations for improvements with the timing of the building permit for the development. We've done that before, and so we'll be looking at that as part of the recommendation for the future public hearings. We know that there's a lot of neighborhood concern about this. We had a full house here the night of the Planning Commission. Maybe some of you were able to watch it during the public hearing. We know that many of those people will be back again. But the thing you need to remember as you're going through your deliberation for the zoning, and then most likely the conditional use would get appealed to you. I would be very surprised if that ultimately does not happen. The reason that the staff has recommended approval of this project is because, as I talked about the history of this site, it has gone through change so that it is in conformance with our comprehensive plan, which is why we would recommend approval of this. In terms of a conditional use permit, typically as long as it meets all the city requirements and that any impacts to surrounding property owners can be addressed or mitigated, then legally we've said it's very difficult to say that you cannot approve a conditional use permit. So that's been kind of the history. We'll provide more guidance to you on that from our city attorney's office. But a conditional use permit is a use that should be allowed as long as it can meet the conditions of the city, whether it's existing stipulations, or I should say existing regulations, or any other stipulations that would be placed on it by a planning commission or a city council. So that's historically how we've gone through these large types of development. And just one more editorial comment that I can go back over again at second reading, that historically we've had other major retail uses like this go through similar hearings where there has been neighborhood input and even neighborhood opposition. The Shopco on East 10th Street was opposed by the residential neighbors to the east and to the south. The Hy-Vee store at 26th and Sycamore was opposed by the residential development to the west and to the north. They were concerned about the lighting, the loading area, the traffic, the safety, the litter. The Lewis Drug Store at 26th and Sycamore had neighborhood concerns. The West 41st Street Ace Hardware had a significant amount of neighborhood concern. It went through a number of meetings and considerations for the landscaping and the lighting. So what I'm trying to say is that this is not the first time, and I'm sure it won't be the last time, where we have a major retail development proposed to be located in a growing area, a developing area of the city. But to the west, we have existing multifamily, and to the north, we have multifamily residential. To the south, we have the USF football stadium. To the east, we have the Judy Estates proposed park. And to the southwest, we also have a large area of commercial zoning, which a portion of is currently owned for a potential future Lewis Drug Store. So again, I can go through this again in more detail at the second reading, but I'm trying to provide the council with some background because we know that this is going to be a major decision that you'll be asked to make. So Mayor, I'll just stop there, and I know this is just first reading tonight.
Mr. Cooper, great job, and I know the council appreciates your work and your team's work. Councilor Jamison.
Yes, I wanted to state that as well, that Mike and Steve, you guys, it's a great history, great informative piece. It's a lot of what I was looking for. You answered it right away, and Steve, that little thing you did, that's great. One question I have is the distance from the school to the building. What is our minimum requirement for anybody who has a liquor license?
Yeah, if it's within 500 feet, then it requires a conditional use permit.
Any idea how close we are, roughly? Or how close Hy-Vee was? How far off the mark?
Well, the Hy-Vee store was pretty much in the same location as this proposed store. Yeah, it's a very similar distance.
Was it short, though, or was it all good, the distance?
Well, the Hy-Vee conditional use permit included the alcohol sales, because it was within 500 feet of the school.
Okay.
So this would be the same way.
Thank you.
Yes.
Councilor Ermenbach.
Thank you. Mike, kind of a dumb question. The little O space that's zoned over in the south
It's a
east
tower.
It is something, isn't
Yes.
it? There's something there already.
Yes.
Okay,
There's
that's where
a
we're
tower that
throwing
would
us.
stay.
Okay, then question about that sort of wetland just to the east of this property. Is that truly a wetland, or is it a stormwater detention thing?
It's a conservation area that was basically provided by the original landowner in order to mitigate some other wetland development. And so this is part of what we call the Judy Estates proposed park. So it is a conservation area. It cannot be filled in, and it's not part of a stormwater drainage system, which is why the Walmart folks are looking at changing that area of office to provide a larger site to address the stormwater needs of this particular area. And that's one thing that we have heard from the other property owners as well as the Sioux Falls Christian School is concerns about drainage in this area.
Right, and that was
Yes.
my question then,
Yep.
was that I had watched that meeting pretty closely, and that was one of the concerns that struck home for me, was that those somehow can't intermingle if it's really a stormwater and
Yes.
that one's protected, so I assume that's what the structures are that are in that drawing, that it's to keep those water holding areas separate.
Yes, and then they will dewater or drain out into the storm
Okay.
sewer system. And we can, again, provide you with more detailed explanation of how that's going to work because they have submitted a drainage plan.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Councilor Brown.
Mike, if I may ask you or your staff to do one more comparison before next week. I don't know what the distances are, but I believe across from every high school, we probably have establishments selling alcohol in less than 500 feet.
Yeah,
Do
with
we
the
not?
exception of Lincoln High School.
Lincoln High School's the
But
exception.
Washington does, O'Gorman, Roosevelt.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Rolfing.
I would be real interested in seeing the traffic study on this, if we could, especially with Cliff. We are not planning on taking Cliff to 4 lanes all the way from the interstate all the way south, are we, in this next round?
No, the current CIP only goes down to about Jane. It goes to the north of this area because, again, there hasn't been a development approved here. We didn't know the timing of that development, so our CIP only went down to the area that we thought needed to be addressed. But as I stated earlier, with the conditional use process, what we would look at is what additional traffic improvements should be done and when they should be done in conjunction with the store opening.
Okay. Do
And
you
how
know-
they would be done.
Okay, you're going to bring that
Yes.
to us?
Yes.
Okay. Are you looking at anything going east out of there to get people out and in?
Well, it goes east with the overpass all the way to Southeastern Avenue.
And is that,
And then
yeah,
it
that's
goes
all
north
the
to
way
Fifth-
through, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Back when the school first went in there, it was a gravel road.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Councilor, I'm sorry, Councilor Karski, and then I'll come to you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Karski? Oh, very good. Councilor Brown.
Remind me, Mike, on that road by the school, we did that before we were ready to, right?
Yes. The
Like
school
years-
was anxious to get out there because of the availability of the land, and we were able to provide water and sewer, but we didn't have all the street improvements done right away when they opened. And now they've added an elementary school, and we've done the overpass. So it has changed.
Very good, thanks.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
Mike, to the east of this, it's all pretty much farmland out there.
Yeah, to the east of this is the Judy Estates, open space, then you've got the railroad tracks, and then to the east of that, we've approved for future development, but it's still undeveloped.
What are we approving out there for future
It's,
development?
again,
What are we looking
residential
at?
until you get closer to Southeastern, then it's more commercial office.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, I also wanted to, you've been a superstar tonight with that red pen. And it really laid a story not only on this Walmart location discussion, but on the prior one as well. And it's just kind of a lesson for probably our future city council meetings that the city staff, if they could learn what you've done tonight, Steve, I think it would be a real help for the council and for the public. I'll shut up now. Team, does anybody have any further questions, or would anybody consider making a motion?
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Karski has made a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading on this item for Tuesday, May 1st at 7 p.m., and it was seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Entenmann.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to confirm and reiterate that this does allow then for public input at the next meeting, correct?
Good job, Councilor Entenmann. It does. This is a first reading, folks, so you don't have the opportunity to engage the council. But on the second reading, which if it's approved by the council tonight, this motion right now, on May 1st, anywhere between 7 and probably 9 o'clock, there will be further discussion on this item. So you'll all have the opportunity to come talk to the council. Good job, Councilor Entenmann. Well, team, I thank you. If there is no further discussion, we'll vote on this motion to set that date of hearing for Tuesday, May 1st.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 40.
Item 40 is a resolution amending the 2012-2016 capital program.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. What we have before you, Chad talked about earlier about the supplemental appropriation of the capital plan. And there's also an amendment for the capital plan for water reclamation involving the disinfection equipment out there. Disinfection out at the water reclamation facility is the last treatment process before we discharge to the Big Sioux River. We're required by our permit to reduce the bacterial level in the water before we discharge it to the Big Sioux River. Generally, we do this during the summer months from May to September, and it's a requirement that we take the bacterial levels down to below 400 colony-forming units per 100 mils of water. That's essentially an immersion recreation standard. That means that the water would be safe for swimming, or that we're discharging it at a level where the water is safe for swimming. Currently out at the facility, we use gaseous chlorine to disinfect the water. It comes in 1-ton cylinders. And then we use gaseous SO2, sulfur dioxide, that comes in 1-ton cylinders to disinfect the water, or to remove the chlorine before it gets disinfected. Our current system has faced some challenges in 2010 with the high flows, and then we saw some challenges in 2011. Essentially what's happening is the characteristic of the wastewater has a higher demand in it. And so the system is being challenged to meet the demands that we're seeing in the water today. Given that bit of information, our staff worked with a consultant, HDR Engineering, with this scope of work in front of you to find out what was going on in the system and develop some recommendations moving forward as far as what types of improvements we could do. Essentially what we wanted to do was increase capacity and efficiency in the system, reduce the risks that are inherently associated with gaseous chlorine delivered in big tanks, use whatever existing infrastructure we have. There's a building out there that is generally suited, and there's equipment that can be reused, and try to bring it in at similar operating costs to what we have right now. A series of recommendations were developed. The biggest change for the system, or biggest recommendation, was for us to go from a gaseous system to a liquid system. Essentially, the liquid system is bleach. It's household bleach. It's a little bit more concentrated. But the liquid system is a less regulated system. There is no Chemical Security Act regulations. There are no risk management plan regulations. And it's a safer system for the staff to operate. It's a safer system for the surrounding community, because there's no potential like there would be from a gaseous system for any kind of release. There are a couple of other improvements that were recommended from the study to improve mixing, to improve contact time, so that a lower amount of chemical could do the same amount of disinfection. The cost associated with this system is about $513,000. Again, this would use the existing facility. It would switch it to a liquid feed system. We looked at the capital plan and we reprioritized some projects. One of the projects that we have is an HVAC and roofing project. There are several buildings out at the water reclamation facility. And we've gone through a series over the years. I believe we started somewhere around 2008, and we've replaced the roofs and the HVAC, and we're working through the buildings out there. We have a multi-year project. And what we would like to do is take the funding that we've associated with the roofing and HVAC project in 2013 and move this project into this capital plan for 2012 and get this construction done. And essentially move that schedule of projects forward, so the 2012 work would not be done until 2014. And then there's some other mains funding in the CIP to make up the balance, so about $25,000 would be taken from that account. The other mains funding is for unforeseen projects or for oversizing sewer projects. We use that to put sewer infrastructure in, totaling $513,000. So we're asking for your support to move this project forward. Why we're timing it and moving it into this capital plan, into the existing capital plan, is because we have a narrow window to disinfect in the summer period. We will disinfect using the gaseous chlorine, and during this time this year, we would like to do some design work to get the work done. And then in the off season, in September, when we're no longer disinfecting, we'd like to get the construction underway, so that next year, going into 2013, we have a safe and effective system, so that we're not bumping up against that wall as far as our ability to disinfect the wastewater, jeopardizing our ability to meet permit requirements. So we're asking for your support to move this project forward, to use existing funding or existing appropriation that was there already by reprioritizing existing projects so that we can get this project done and ensure that we meet our permit. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Before we do that, is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Very good. Council, any questions or comments?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made that motion to approve. It was seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Seeing no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. 41.
Item 41 is a resolution declaring the results of the City of Sioux Falls Municipal School Board election held in the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota on Tuesday, the 10th of April, 2012.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Lori Hugstead, City Clerk. I have the results of the election held on Tuesday, April 10th, and those would be Kermit L. Staggers received 50.42% of the vote for the position of council member at large for a 4-year term. Greg Jamison received 65.43% of the vote for the position of council member for the Southwest District for a 4-year term. Dean Karski received 74.65% of the votes for the council member for the Northwest District for a 4-year term. And Kenny Anderson Jr. received 77.77% of the votes for the position of council member for the Northeast District for a 4-year term. In each race, we had at least a candidate receive more than 34% of the votes, and of course, as a result, no runoff election is necessary. The charter amendments, we had 3 charter amendments. Charter Amendment A regarded powers of the city, and that the yes votes were 46.02%, meaning that was not approved. Charter Amendment B, adopting appropriations ordinance, received 74.03% as a yes vote, and Charter Amendment C, regarding Board of Ethics, received 69.52% of the vote, and that was passed. I can answer any other questions you may have.
Lori, thank you.
Yes.
Is there anyone who wanted to speak to this item? Very good. Council? Yes, Councilor Aguilar.
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second, Entman.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Is there any discussion? Very good. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes. That is passed 8-0, and hearty congratulations to Councilor Staggers, Councilor Jamison, Councilor Karski, Councilor Anderson Jr. Thanks for your willingness to serve, and your work paid off. I think it's at least worth 1 round of applause, if not 2. Congratulations. Very good. Item number 42.
Item number 42 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of Whispering Woods Phase 2 addition.
This is a preliminary plan submitted by Jim Welbig on behalf of Whispering Woods LLC for a portion of Phase 2 addition. This is south of East 57th Street and east of an extension of Bonson Avenue. This is a preliminary plan, which you heard this afternoon with our new electronic plan review process. This is one of the plans that would be provided for approval as part of that new system. It's a subdivision plan that shows the potential development of 27 additional residential lots. This would include plans for water, sewer, storm drainage. It has gone through city staff recommendation and also has gone through the Planning Commission for their consideration. So this is a recommendation to approve this resolution for these additional residential lots.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone in the audience? Very good. Council, questions, comments?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made that motion to approve this resolution, seconded by Councilor Karski. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Thank you. 8-0, it is passed. Item 43.
Item 43 is a resolution including certain contiguous territory within the corporate limits of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, annexation 2011-1101 Maple Street School Site.
This is a petition on behalf of the Sioux Falls School District to include property within the Sioux Falls city limits that's proposed for future elementary and middle school, as well as a future city fire station. Previously, the City Council sat with Minnehaha County Commission to approve the zoning change on this property in anticipation of a future annexation request. So before you tonight is the petition to include this approximately 46 acres of land that would extend west of Marion Road along Maple Street for the eventual development of these public facilities. We have been working with the surrounding property owners. Jeff Schmidt is the one that has been really working on this particular development. The adjoining property owners at this time are not interested in development, but they do believe that once the school, particularly the middle school, is completed, that there will probably be future requests for additional annexation and zoning in this particular area. The Sioux Falls School District has indicated that they would begin construction of the new middle school as the first phase of this development, which will replace the current Axtell Park Middle School. And they would begin construction this year with an opening in 2014. In working with the different city staff, within our capital improvement budget, we're proposing to provide utilities to this area in 2013. And then in 2014, we would be making turning lane improvements to the entrances for the school development. Maple Street is an existing two-lane asphalt road. It does have some good life to the pavement. And with the middle school, the district has said that those kids will be bused. So initially, there's not going to be a need for sidewalk or other street improvements. But we will be looking at budgeting in our CIP for additional street improvements as the elementary school schedule is more defined in the future. So at this point, the staff has reviewed this and is recommending approval of this resolution for annexation.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone in the audience? Very good, Council.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Rolfing, thank you. It was seconded by Councilor Karski. Councilor Erpenbach.
Mike, question about how this is contiguous in a very strange way. Usually, if we're going to annex a piece of property, it's supposed to be contiguous. It's supposed to touch the current existing city limits, and the only way this one touches is on Maple Street. Am I reading that map
Yes,
correctly?
correct. It's the right-of-way is the area that we're using for contiguous. And again, we've been working with the adjoining property owners. They are willing to work with us on easements, utility extension. But right at this time, they're not ready to proceed with any additional annexation.
Have we ever done anything like this before, where it seems like we're bending those rules on contiguous territory? I mean, it's not a rule that we made up. This is state law that requires them to be contiguous like that. That just seems like we're pushing the limits on that.
Yeah, this is unusual, but we believe that in order to meet the school district's timeline, that we need to get it into the city limits. But yes, this is an unusual way of providing for that contiguous property.
Councilor Enneman.
Mike, another question for you. Sure. You say we have to extend some infrastructure, some utilities down to this area then,
Yeah.
is that correct?
That would be along Maple Street. It'll
Okay.
be the water and sewer utilities.
Okay, and then in the future, as this land, additional land, private land, is annexed into the city, those developers or whoever then, or property owners, will be assessed the cost of those utilities, is that correct or not?
They will be assessed the utilities that they would be putting in for their development, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just like any other development would, yes. Great,
thank you. Councilor Brown.
Mike, the future fire station that would go there, that isn't in the current CIP, is it?
Yes.
It is. What year?
I think it's 2014 or 15.
Okay. Thank you.
And that would be on the northeast corner of the site being annexed.
Another question, if I may.
Councilor Brown.
Isn't it a little unusual to put a fire station right next to a school? For noise and...
The fire department, again, in our 2035 comprehensive plan, looked at where the future residential developments were going to be. And this was a site that they looked at. With the school district purchasing this 40 acres, they felt that it was an opportunity to work together to get the property acquired. But we do have fire stations in close proximity to other public facilities.
Very good. Yes, Councilor Aguilar.
So I guess that I go back to Councilor Erpenbach's question, and is it legal the way that we're doing this?
I don't think that we would bring you something that's not going to stand up. It is unusual. It's not our desire to do it this way, but again, in order to meet the school district's timeline, if we don't annex it, then how do we get the school built?
Did the school district consult us before deciding that that's where it was
Yes.
going to go?
We worked together. This was not the first choice, but it was the only choice where we had a landowner that was willing to sell the property. It's kind of like the Pettigrew Elementary School. We looked in about 5 or 6 places before we came up with a site for that, and it was initially in kind of an isolated area. This is kind of the same way that we start out with.
Councilor Brown.
Has the school district worked with those landowners at all to try to get them to annex?
No. Jeff Schmidt has been working with them on a pretty regular basis. One of them is local, another of the property owners is out of state.
Councilor Enneman.
There is, I'm very familiar with that area, I'm sure a lot of other rest of us are too, but there is significant development, residential development taking place already, as well as future development plan for that area. And you did say that they plan on replacing Axtell Park by putting a middle school
Yes.
here, is that correct?
That's right. And Axtell Park will become the Joe Foss School.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Jameson.
I was just going to comment that I think it shows creativity and ingenuity, and I think the fire station would add entertainment to the children, and so I think annex. It's good.
Nice job, Councilor Jameson. Very good. With that in mind, let's have a vote.
Councilmembers Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Yes.
Entman.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 44.
Item 44 is a resolution authorizing an application for financial assistance, authorizing the execution and submittal of the application, and designating an authorized representative to certify and sign payment requests.
Welcome.
Trent Luber's Office of Public Works. Item 44 represents the loan application for the next key project in completing, if you remember back in 2010 when we did the assessment study, and you remember Central Maine and the Tud Hill Lift Station and the sewer projects that came down around the south, this is the final link for us to complete that chain of projects that need to be done. Essentially, this project goes from around Minnesota Avenue, where we'll stop our key project or our key sewer construction project this year, all the way to, if you can visualize a railroad bridge behind the Johnson Estates trailer park, it goes all the way down underneath there. You're looking at large diameter pipe. We'd be changing from 42-inch pipe to 54-inch pipe. There's about 8,600 feet of work here. And what this, your support would do was authorize us to enter into an application for an SRF loan. The total loan price would be about $12.4 million. That would be at 10 years at 2.25% interest. We would commit revenue to, or I'm sorry, user fees or revenue to service the debt. Schedule, if you remember from SRF loans in the past, there's a certain procedure that we need to go through with the DENR. In April, before the end of this month, we'll have a public hearing. We'll submit a facility plan, which is essentially done to the DENR. We'll get put on their schedule where they'll do a loan hearing, and they'll either grant us approval to and commit funding for this project. We would bring that back to you for a resolution to enter into that debt financing plan, and then we would start design and construction for the project. The last picture is just, I probably should have had this earlier, but there are three different alignments here of where we could possibly do construction. And so this is what will be submitted to the state. The green line is essentially the alignment that's there already. You can see that that impacts the park. It's very close to the river. It impacts bike trails. And then the red line is a deviation from the green line if we wanted to follow the same one. And then the most intriguing plan is the magenta or the maroon line, which takes us outside of the park, close to the interstate right away. And in my opinion, this is a good alignment because it takes us further away from the river. When you put pipe in the ground, the further you can get it away from those saturated soils, the less chance you have for infiltration and inflow, those high peaking flows that we see when the river comes up and the ground gets saturated. So with your support, we would start the loan process with the DENR, and we would move forward to secure funding to get this project done. Hopefully maybe by the end of this year, doing some wintertime work, and then in 2013.
Councilor Rolfing.
You take it through my soccer fields.
We're going to try to miss the soccer fields if we use the maroon one. So that's another.
Wait a minute here. You ain't missing them by much.
No, we aren't. And actually, the maroon line takes us outside of the alignment, and it
Yeah,
takes
just
us away.
outside the fields and between the drive and the fields, yeah.
And when we would do this work has some challenges because the rock is very close to the surface.
Yeah.
And so there would be a certain amount of blasting and rock removal with this. If we were to get funding with this would probably be wintertime work. We would do it outside of the soccer season. It's work where there would be select fill, and the construction methods would suit themselves to doing it in the wintertime. So if we could get the funding and get the approval and get the design done, that's when we'd like to do that work.
If there's blasting, can I help?
I don't know.
No.
Shoot.
No.
No.
The consensus is no. But it'll be a great project. Again, this is the last link. This is a very key project for us, and we can start moving to some smaller diameter sewer and getting some of those other projects done.
Council, I made a mistake. I did not offer the audience an opportunity. Did anybody in the audience want to speak to this item? Very good. Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Trent, what's the timeline for construction? As far as you showed us, as far as getting the money, but as far as once construction is started? How long will it take to complete?
It depends on how we bid the project. There's some talk and discussion. We really haven't gotten very deep into the design process yet because that would be part of the SRF loan. But one of the concepts that we're looking at is splitting it into 2 bids so that we could get that early section started and get that blasting done outside of the high use periods for the park and get that type of work done. So possibly as early as late fall, early winter. And then the second phase, you can see that we would have some impact on 57th Street into that commercial area. There's some techniques that you can do there as far as tunneling underneath and moving across the interstate. But you're looking at a lot of work impacting a lot of traffic flow. There's complicated techniques there. If you did split it into 2, you're still looking at an all-summer project next year.
An all-summer project next year?
Similar to the Phase 1B project that we're doing this year. It's 8,600 feet of sewer, and it really depends on what type of conditions you run into.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Aguilar.
what happens to the old line?
The old line, what we would do if we do take a new alignment is it's essentially grouted or filled with material so that there's no potential for collapse or anything like that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Aguilar. Councilor Rolfing?
Move approval.
Second, Erpenbach.
Very good. There's been a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 45.
Item 45 is a motion to appoint Jim David as Legislative Operations Manager effective May 7th, 2012.
Councilor Aguilar.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to speak to this. We had 66 applicants for the Legislative Operations Manager position, and we interviewed 8, and we're bringing forward Jim David's name for approval by the council this evening, and there's Jim.
Mr. David, would you mind introducing yourself to the people of Sioux Falls?
Sure. Well, my name is Jim David, and I'd like to thank each of you for the opportunity to serve as your Legislative Operations Manager, and I look forward to meeting with each of you, actually next month when I get started, to learn your expectations and also to discuss how I can assist you in representing the people of Sioux Falls. This is a real honor for me, and I am very excited to get started. So.
Great job there, Jim. Council, any questions or comments? Yes, Councilor Erpenbach.
I just wanted to congratulate, and to thank Councilor Aguilar and Councilor Karski, because they're the ones that sorted through all these folks and came up with an awesome candidate. We're really pleased that we're able to make this vote tonight, and I thank both of you for the amount of work that you put into it and for the quality of a candidate that you found for us.
Councilor Aguilar.
I'd like to move approval of this motion.
I would second that.
Councilor Aguilar and made a motion to approve. It was seconded by Councilor Karski. Councilor Brown.
Just 2 comments. He didn't run screaming from the room tonight. And I'll need that first appointment for you because I probably won't be around too long. So,
nice job. Well, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
yes.
Entman?
Jim Entman votes yes.
Very good. Well, Mr. David, where are you? Get up to the podium. This council takes these jobs incredibly seriously. They don't mess around. They really want to find the right candidate. And with 66 applicants, you definitely ran the gamut. And on behalf of the people of Sioux Falls, 156,300 strong, and yes, with the unanimous approval of the City Council, we congratulate you and welcome to the team.
Yep, thank you, Mayor Hughes.
With that in mind, Council, it's almost 9 o'clock. Again, full work you put into the day.
Move to adjourn, Karski.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Karski's made a motion to adjourn this meeting, seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr. If we could have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Very good. That is fast, 8-0. And with that in mind, this meeting is adjourned. Make it a great night, Sioux Falls.
Yeah, you're in such a hurry. What was...